Welcome viewers to this new set of lectures on early Indian history, and today we shall be talking about Gandhara and Mathura schools of art, and alongside me is Miss Manisha Sharma, and she would be doing the sign language interpretation for the lecture that we are having today. So let's begin with the big picture of contextualizing this lecture in terms of time, in terms of its historical context. So as you can see on your slide, when we are talking of Gandhara art or Mathura art, we are essentially talking of a new kind of artistic expression that is visible in early Indian history in the post-Mauryan times, largely post-Mauryan times. So the time bracket would be, say, around 2nd century before the birth of Christ, two centuries before the birth of Christ, or say before the Common Era, down to even Gupta period in the case of Gandhara art, and even up to 12th century AD or 12th century CE in the context of Mathura art. So these are the time brackets that we are talking about. Now, over a period of time, artistic expressions, on account of several factors, acquire an identity of its own. So when we say Mathura art or when we say Gandhara art, for instance, we are talking of a very specific kind of artistic expression that expressed itself in sculpturing or even in other architectural traditions around the area that we understand as Gandhara today. Now, what area was understood as Gandhara in ancient times, because early Indian sources are full of such references of Gandhara, that is little dynamic, that is not static, so it keeps changing. So the present political understanding of this area or geographical understanding of this area may not correspond with a large territory that it came to connote in the earlier period. So that is something that we will talk about later. Now, another important historical correlate of the Gandhara art, or for that matter even Mathura art, will be the religion and religiosity during the period. So what we get to see as some kind of a trend in the post-Mauryan period in Indian history is that most of the big organized religions are undergoing schism. Schism here means they are getting divided into smaller sects with distinct belief system, with a distinct set of subscribers, believers. It had a different set of rites and rituals. So, for instance, when we talk of Buddhism, with which there is great association of Gandhara art, as we shall see subsequently, when we talk of Buddhism, we have, for example, Hinayan and Mahayana as two distinct sects that had emerged or were starting to emerge around this time in the post-Mauryan period, say 2nd century BCE onwards. Similarly, when we talk of Jainism, then again we have Hinayan, Mahayana, and similar is the story for Hinduism, where we have Shaivism and Vishnuism representing two different sects of the primary religion in the form of Buddhism, Jainism, Hinduism, and so forth. So there is this trend happening, and why I'm telling you all this is because some of these sects did have a very approving attitude towards idol worship or representing divinity in human form, anthropomorphic forms and so forth, which has pertinence to the contours of this school of art, or these schools of art for that matter. Another important point which is often spoken about with reference to these two schools of art, Gandhara and Mathura, is its Greco-Roman lineage or Greco-Roman connect or influence or impact. Now, over different points of time in history, historians have treated Gandhara school of art with different kind of assessment. To begin with, it was considered to be heavily inspired, almost a byproduct of Greco-Roman tradition, and now there is fair degree of understanding that it's not only Greco-Roman tradition, but there are several other influences that Gandhara art represents, and the same holds true for Mathura art as well. So, very deterministic kind of treatment in terms of influence from a particular artistic tradition to a kind of mixture of quite a few art tradition is what we get to see in terms of writings over a period of time about these two schools of art. Also, one has to keep in mind, particularly with reference to the Gandhara school, that there are the issues of political and diplomatic relations that the Mauryans had with the Greco-Roman world. We have reference to the Greek ambassadors sitting in Pataliputra in the form of Megasthenes and so forth. So there certainly was this kind of movement of people across the two regions, and therefore to argue of some kind of Greco-Roman connect in this artistic tradition that developed in Gandhar area, which happens to be along the land route between India and Greece, or for that matter Europe, is important. And Gandhar, as we shall see subsequently, is not only en route, but there are several other intersections that this particular site represents in terms of cultural impact, in terms of cultural influence, also with reference to China and Persia, that is Iran, and so forth. So they also have some kind of an impact. Number two is Ashoka's push for Buddhism. As I said earlier, that when we talk of Gandhar art, we almost start thinking in terms of the sculptures of the Buddha. And where is this connect happening? Since when is this happening? So we know of Ashoka's push for Buddhism in this part of India and beyond. And that could have impacted this area as well. And archaeology attests several other findings, not only in terms of sculptures of Buddha carved in Gandhar tradition, but several other monasteries, chaityas, viharas, even coins, metallic coins in the post-Mauryan period in this area have been found, in Gandhar area have been found, bearing Buddha's image. So there is a distinct footprint in terms of religion and religiosity, or some kind of familiarity with Buddha. Not only familiarity, but these sites, these chaityas, these Buddhist sites were supposed to be little outside the main city in Gandhar area, And it's here that people used to come for public ceremonies and so forth, conduct different rites and rituals. So it's not only in very individualized sense of a freestanding statue and very artistic expression, but there is a very profound religion and religiosity associated with Buddha, which persisted for a good number of years across centuries in Gandhar area. And this is how we get to see several specimens of the Buddha carved in Gandhar tradition. And it has caught on. In fact, since these two schools, Gandhar and Mathura, rendered Buddha's image for the first time for posterity in stones and so forth, very durable materials. So it has caught on, and the way we today worship or remember or commemorate anything associated with Buddha, we generally represent Buddha with reference to the way these two schools have represented them or represented him. So all of us know that Buddha was born in what today is Nepal area, right? And we all know how people of this area, Nepal area, look like. But if you look at the image of the Buddha, obviously he does not look like one. He does not look like like a native of Nepal. This is not to deny that he was born somewhere, this is not to assert that he was born somewhere else, but just that this particular art tradition represented the Buddha in a particular way. And since that caught on, therefore, we remember the Buddha in that form only. So this is how profound the impact of the two schools, that is Gandhar and Mathura, is on Indian history or with reference to the Buddha. And then we shall be talking of the collections in museums, which as an institutional practice began in the 19th century. And actually what happens is when such antiquarians or such practices of assembling all the findings, artistic findings of past in some with some taglines for display in museums happens, then we need some identities. We need some kind of academic or social or cultural value of these artifacts, these sculptures. They have to be connected with public memory so that people come and watch them, and it goes on to form an identity of the place. For example, if there are some images or sculptures associated with the Buddha stored and displayed in some art gallery or some museum somewhere, say in the United States or in Europe or in London or somewhere in India, or even around, say, Peshawar or somewhere in Pakistan, what happens is that there are donors who keep donating money to these institutions to survive, and they also want their own affiliation with the place or present day nationality to be embellished in the display. And this is how identities of the place, say Gandhar, keep forming, reforming, and it keeps changing. So these are some of the modern practices of museology that also have some bit of pertinence to identity formation of Gandhar as we understand them today. And they might not match exactly with the kind of identity with which Gandhar as a site could have operated around the time when the two school or when Gandhar school was actually alive. So, having discussed these preliminaries, let's come to the issue of discussing Gandhar art in details. And here we will try to talk about some of the features of Gandhar art in terms of detailing it, in terms of the localities from where these specimens are found and so forth. And also, of course, the religious pertinence of it. But also important is that from the economic point of view, one has to understand that if you look at India in the post-Mauryan period, then what is the situation here? The situation here is that if you look at the archaeological profile of post-Mauryan period, compare it with the city archaeological details that we have for the Mauryan period, then we find that the post-Mauryan material substratum is far rich as compared to what it was during the Mauryan period. So, the element of material prosperity that is exhibited by the archaeological findings in the post-Gupta period is certainly on the ascendance, that is, it is rising. So, although a big empire has disintegrated in the form of Mauryas, but smaller polities, say Shungas, Kanavas, and then we have the Indo-Greeks in the form of, say, you have the rule of Kushan, and then the Shak rulers. So they are all there with smaller polities as compared to the pre-existing big Mauryan empire in the post-Mauryan period. So these polities also had some pertinence to the way Gandhar art flourished or impacted Indian culture and impacted public memory or emerged as a distinct school of craftsmanship and art and so forth. So they have to be kept in mind that there is a general prosperity spreading in material terms in the post-Mauryan period in the northern part of India, in the northwestern part of India, and if at times we get this idea that there are smaller polities, so the economy might not be doing as good as the Mauryan time, so that's a mistaken view, right? So smaller polities in the post-Mauryan period does not translate into bad economy or declining economy. In fact, in material terms, to the extent we understand about economy from archaeological findings, it seems that there is general prosperity in economic terms that is happening across these polities in the northern and northwestern part of India. And certainly, since these are very many of them are Indo-Greek rulers, obviously they had this Greek cultural connect of Hellenistic period or post-Hellenistic period, and that has pertinence to the way this school evolved over a period of time in the post-Mauryan period. So, having used this detailing in terms of economy for this period, if we zero down to the specifics of Gandhar art, then at least for Gandhar art, there is an unmistaken Greco-Roman impact that can be seen. There are some features, there are techniques used, there are some materials used in this sculpturing which straight away tell us that the Greco-Roman impact on this art or sculpturing cannot be denied. But this does not mean that there are no Indian inputs or infusions in this. Obviously, the thematic expressions that these sculptures represent are Indian. Buddha himself is represented, is chosen to be represented as a god, as an icon, and so the mythology around Buddha, the practices around Buddha, the ideas around Buddhism, for example, the idea of bodhisattva and so forth, the earlier images or earlier forms of Buddha, and stories of his lifetime. So these are the themes. Then again, there are several other, for example, biotic and abiotic accompaniments of any imagery. They are distinctly Indian. So there is a very substantial Indian content in what gets represented in Gandhar art, but contrary to the popular notion, we also get a lot of evidence regarding influences from China as well, from influences from Iran as well. So, and if you look at the geography of Gandhar, which we shall be talking about, you will find that it is located at the intersection of several trade routes connecting important areas, say India with Europe, and also the China pathway to Europe. Obviously, Iran is very close by, so all these cultural influences coalesce, they mix up and create a distinct identity in artistry that gets known to us as Gandhar art. Also important are several other aspects of Buddhism that I had just alluded to, and in the next part of this lecture we shall be talking in detail about those underpinnings that characterize Gandhar art, and we shall continue the discussion for Mathura art as well in the next part of this lecture. Thank you.